Well, g'day everyone, welcome back to In My Shed. I'm BC. After that little prelude, I'll let you know what the story is. I'm sharpening some of my own cutters, and that's about due. I've got the shed full of blunt ones, and I'm starting off with this 20mm Sutton high quality slot drill. It's a cobalt slot drill. I don't know whether it's indigenous to Australia or made overseas, but it's a bloody good cutter. I would say to be up there with the likes of the Niagara out of America, and yeah, quite happy with using it. Brubaker, another good brand out of America. It's had a few rough regrinds, thank God none of them attributed to me. I'm trying to correct the damage. I'm just doing a little bit of a clean up at the inner edge of the flute where it's been previously ground, I think a little bit astray, but after I finish this particular setup I will bring you in close. You can have a look at the cutter before and after the grind, but I've also made some drastic changes to what I'm doing. I've been plagued with a lot of vibration or chatter. I've had indexing troubles, and I've persisted with that inside the Clarkson workhead, and it's never given me any joy, and I can't explain why. It really does need a little bit of attention on my part. I've taken it out. I'm using a Clarkson bush inside the workhead, and it's just a socket head cap screw goes through a hole in the bush and engages on the shank of the cutter. And bugging me, where I was struggling taking 1 thou earlier, I can take 3 thou, and I'm getting no chatter. I've been a little bit careful. I couldn't index with the Clarkson gear. I tried to come overhead and I couldn't pass through the wheel with the indexer, which was the drop leg indexer over the top. It was just butting into the wheel, so I had to go out to the universal indexer. But I'm quite happy with the way it's progressing. A couple more passes, I'll bring you in to show you what I'm doing. Sorry about that, just trying to declutter. There's two kinds of grinding in my opinion. That's grinding up to a stop and what I call pass-through grinding. And pass-through grinding is very similar to what you do with a surface grinder. For instance, with the machine running, you pass the cutter, get it back there indexed properly so I don't jam things up. You pass the cutter underneath the wheel or right across the face of the wheel, and in this particular operation there's no stop involved. You take all the material off and come back again. It's very good. It doesn't give you chatter at the end when you come up against a stop, and sometimes with a worn out old machine like this, the stop can be sideways 1 or 2 thou and you do get a bit of a horrible mess. So if you can go through an operations where you've got a wide contact area, I think you better get a better grind. Okay, I'll do a few more passes, then bring you in, you can look at the cutter, and probably tomorrow now we'll have a go at grinding it. I'm very lucky in that a box of wheels that I got with the TOS grinder, I think it was, had a lot of this description wheel, and I'd say 80% of the wheels I threw in the bin. They were battle scarred, knocked around, and I wasn't going to take the chance of them blowing my bloody head off. But I came across a few that were good. I've got some 100 by 13 in 100 grit and a 150 by 6 in 180 grit. And it's not for super finishing, it's for maintaining the form when you're doing small cutters. If you can appreciate, a 60 grit wheel only has to wear a little bit on the outside and you've lost a profile and you can't grind the cutter. So now I can go back, and I'm not being stingy in grinding small cutters, but some of them are really good or special purpose, and I'd hate to throw money away now that I'm approaching the old age pension. Okay, I'll do a bit of grinding and get back to you straight away. Okay, back to some close-ups. That's about as good as I can get, and you can see I've got a right angle grind with the V in the middle. That was using the edge of the wheel, and that reground the inner face of the flute, which is not at the helix angle, and started to grind the heel of the land. So I tried to copy what was originally done with the cutter. Yes, it's worth the money. I think these are now about $140 less distributor discount, so you pay quite a bit for them. And I'll swing you around to a brand new cutter that I salvaged from the overflow, and I'll just see if I can swing it a little bit. That's what I'm trying to emulate. Yeah, that's a little bit better. It's got the V of the cut there. They've taken a fair bit more out of the face with this cutter. Just there than I have with this one. They've gone further out. And you've got to appreciate, in all bud drilling operations, that part of the cutter doesn't do anything. But interestingly, they're doing very similar to what I have. They've got a little V in the middle. I've notched mine with a cut-off wheel. And my favourite, the Blue Shark cut-offs, do a very good job of that little bit of notching. Okay, next setup will be to do the full grind on that third facet. There's your primary relief, your secondary relief, and the third facet. Well, I'll be grinding that third facet next, and I've put a protractor up on there, and it's at 59 degrees to the axis of the cutter. So not too hard to replicate. Okay, I think the pool is calling me, and it's rather a muggy day, so we'll do a bit more gas bagging and some grinding tomorrow. Bye for now. G'day again, guys. We're back to slashing at the slot drills. Sorry the light is crappy. I set it up mainly for bringing you in on close-ups on the flute. It's been a bit hard to nut out. The Clarkson is a little bit more difficult than most of my other grinders. The work head doesn't swivel at the base, and the wheel head doesn't pivot, and it also doesn't turn. So you lose a couple of axes, and that's why I keep going back to the wrong foo or the Hafco grinder, Herald Forbes grinder. It's got 9 axes all up, which I'll show you in another video. But I managed to get rid of the damage. I'll shortly turn this around and just grind the end teeth and get that formed again. Someone's had a go at this before me, and I don't know what sort of grinder, but instead of 2 or 3 degrees dish, it's about 2 to 3 degrees positive. The flute's all mangled. I stuffed up when I was back grinding in the flute, but I managed to recover that, thank God, because as I said the other day, this cutter's worth quite a few dollars. But I think I've got the light set up better to view in from here, so I'll bring you around for a close-up. Okay, here's a look at the setup from a slight distance. It gives you a bit of an idea how the indexing is done. And also move the table backwards and forwards. You can see how the tool moves. I hope I get my fat head. I'm using a straight type 1A1 wheel, and the end of the slot drill passes underneath the wheel like so. And the axis of the slot drill is now at 45 degrees to the face of the wheel, or the movement axis of the tool and cutter grinder. I bumped it earlier on, I think. This is what happened. And I was starting off at about 70 degrees instead of, 25 degrees instead of 45. I've now corrected it. It came out quite okay, but I'll give you an idea of where I'm grinding, and I'll try and zoom us in without getting any of my body parts in the way. Okay, if we rotate that, can we? Yeah. Yeah, I think you can now see that shiny bit in there is the face that I finished up grinding, but I also ground this top area here once at too steep an angle and then again at 45. It's all converged onto the point. I haven't ground one longer than the other, because on this one I'm going to be slotting the end with a cut-off wheel. I have already cut it once as a reference so I could see where I was going, and I'm quite happy with both these faces, the way they're coming up. Now, I'm not going to grind the flutes at the moment. I haven't got the air bearing spindle set up, and you can see inside the flute where I was grinding. I had to grind very carefully because I'm grinding both on the face and the side of the wheel, and I'm not using a straight or flared cup wheel because there just isn't a bloody work envelope on this machine. You can't get enough angles or enough distance away from the wheel where you put a different wheel like a straight cup wheel on and the nut doesn't engage on the shaft enough. There's a lot of limitations to how this machine is set up within my knowledge. That's where I'll qualify. Clarkson isn't a crappy machine, it's just trying to learn how to use it, and it's very unusual have to spin the table around because you can't spin the base of the workhead. So being a lot different to what I had been used to using makes it a little bit harder for me to get used to. But anyway, we got that part successfully done. I'll now swing the wheel head around and grind the primaries and secondaries behind the cutting edge. But for second time or third time, I'll take you over to the BM200 grinder and I'll show you why I like setting that up so much. Okay, we're back over in front of the horrible green Terror. It's a BM200A, now sold by Hero Forms, but it's wrong fu. It had quite a lot of different descriptions. It is very, very limited in that it has a small table. There's not a lot of mass here. It's built on a European machine and you'll see shortly what you can do with it. But I simply love this machine because of the things you can do with it. I would like to see a bigger workhead, something with a lot more mass in it. But for learning, okay, it's just been fabulous. One thing we had to do was lift the workhead up to do annular cutters, rotor broach cutters, because it was just too damn low. It was meant for people who were only a metre tall. When I get more permanent set up, I'll put a couple of pieces of RHS or something under there and pump it up 6 or 8 inches, and that'll make it comfortable. But I'll point this out. I did run a video earlier called Tool and Cutter Controls where I described what you can do with this machine, but I think now is a more appropriate time to go back over that. I'll zoom you up. There you can see all the nitty-gritty parts of the machine now, and I'll try and give a rough description with my hand in there so you can see it, back of its area. Start with the wheel head. That's this from over here. It's on a rise and fall mechanism. You can get about 150 millimetres up and down there. It pivots, undo 3 bolts there, then you screw it around, and as long as you don't foul the cord up, it's fairly independent. It also pivots that way on the wheel head. Now, one thing I do like is you can run a wheel on this end or even gang a second wheel in behind. You can run a wheel over the other end, then you can roll over to get at the other wheel, or spin it 90 degrees to use the periphery of the other wheel. So there's 3 axes and 2 wheels available just on the wheel head. On the workhead, you've got tilt there, swivel there, and rotate. That's 3 more axes. On the table, you've got in and out, longitudinal feed, that's 2. Undo these bolts, tilt the table, that's another 3. And the whole body that the table sits on can go in and out about 125 millimetres. So yeah, versatile, small. One thing about small tool and cutter grinders, you can usually only put one setup on at a time, where a table that's a metre long, you can have 2 or 3 different attachments on there, which means you're not breaking down your attachments all the time. This is a surprising grinder. It's got oiling points all over it, and I hate running oil on unprotected V-ways. This doesn't have the skirts to get rid of the dust and stop creating a problem. But to learn on, it's been very, very good. It takes Morse taper 3 collets in the workhead, so I've got everything up to 3/4 inch or 19 millimetre. So yes, I've learned a hell of a lot with this machine. It's now getting noisy. It does need an overhaul, but I'm going to try and look around for a few better machines when I possibly can. It also does lend itself to being truncated off underneath the workhead, throw the whole stand away, and this would mount beautifully in the back of a high-ace van or somewhere if you wanted to have a mobile sharpening service. But me personally, I'm well and truly past that. One thing that having the workhead raised up does do, it makes you extend your diamond dresser up by an equal amount, and the diamond dresser is that far extended now I get a fair bit of chatter when I'm dressing the wheel. It just means I've got to go at a 1 or 2 hundredths of a millimetre at a time until the wheel's dressed up. But I hope this has been a little bit of help for you. I will continue with the Tool and Cutter Grinder series on the Clarkson, but that will be a little bit later on. I'll finish the video now. Well, back again. I didn't realise it, but I've got to end this video here. I did want to finish this cutter off for you, but I'll bring you back in probably 3 or 4 days' time and finish off that particular cutter and maybe do a few others. I've got family interests and festivities for the next few days. I hope you learned a lot about the Rong Fu or BM200A grinder, and I'm trying to do as much as I can with the Clarkson because I don't have it set up for too many other jobs, and I hate breaking a machine down and come back and build it up again, do 3 or 4 annular cutters and then break it down again. But all in all of my machines are different. They all serve a individual purpose, and so far they all work quite well. I hope you're learning from it. Please like and subscribe. Throw me any questions if you like, and also I'm going to put together a bit more about the course I'm going to run on tool and cutter grinding. I think that should be interesting because it'll be an interactive course working with you guys. Not so much on, oh, please show me doing flutes or whatever, but a particular item that I can demonstrate here, get questions on what I'm demonstrating, not what you guys want, and I can give a close-up on certain aspects. I will be changing a bit of my filming in the future too, and use my phone instead of cameras. I think that'll be a bit of an interesting change. Anyway, if I don't see you again before Christmas, all the best, and please like and subscribe.